I'm Sue Romanoff, and I'm joined here today with Oliver Schacht, CEO of OpGen. Hi, Oliver.
Hi, Sue. Pleasure to be here.
Recently, OpGen announced encouraging top-line data for the Unyvero UTI panel, and that's what we're here to discuss today. I think for starters, could you provide some background on the UTI test panel?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, we're really excited about the data. It was fantastic to see sensitivity and specificity come back at these levels. The Unyvero UTI cartridge is a sample-to-answer test, fully automated on the Unyvero platform, which is already FDA cleared, and we already have our pneumonia panel and the pneumonia BAL panel FDA cleared on that platform. So same concept. You take a native clinical specimen, 2 minutes hands-on time, and it runs the full test analysis, multiplex PCR, to result in under 5 hours. The panel, and if you look at the European CE marked cartridge that's already commercially available, is a very broad panel of bacterial as well as fungal pathogens, as well as a broad array of genetic antimicrobial resistance markers. So we believe it's going to be a one-of-its-kind product with a very broad panel, the first cartridge-based urinary tract infection product that is going to the FDA and then hopefully come to the market soon thereafter.
So how is it different from the traditional culture-based tests that are in the market at the moment?
Yeah, if you look at what's standard of care in urinary tract infections, it's really quantitative culture, quantitative microbiology culture, which takes several days. That's been one of the challenges to overcome, and we believe that really the engineering ingenuity of the Curatus team here at OpGen for the Unyvero has allowed us to develop the first ever cartridge-based quantitative UTI product. Again, delivering results in 5 hours. If you look at urinary tract infections, unlike, for example, pneumonia, UTI tends to be not quite as acute. So having results in 5 hours is perfectly fine. And again, that's several days earlier than you would under normal circumstances. If you look at the UTI space, a lot of these infections are driven by E. coli, and we're starting to see a lot of antimicrobial resistance, for example, in E. coli. So again, being able to not only identify the pathogen, but deliver actionable clinical information on AMR markers is going to be critical.
Maybe to expand on that, could you talk about the competitive landscape a little bit? Are there other PCR-based UTI panels available in the market?
There's not an FDA cleared UTI panel on any of the usual suspect platforms. So really, this is a first-in-class product that we're bringing to the FDA. In terms of competition, what we do see, I mean, other than, of course, competing with standard microbiology culture, which is the default standard of care, which, by the way, we're not trying to replace. We're trying to deliver an adjunct rapid molecular test that offers, a very broad test panel in just a few short hours. But we're not going to try and replace culture here, at least for the foreseeable future. And that's true for all molecular methods. The only molecular panels that exist in UTI are really lab-developed tests, really PCR reagent kits. For example, Thermo Fisher has a reagent kit in urinary tract infection, but that runs on open PCR platforms such as the Quant Studio, which means, from a user standpoint, significantly more hands-on time. Open PCR requires separating pre and post PCR, unlike something like the Unyvero, which is fully closed and doesn't require that. You don't need the sophisticated staff and lab personnel to run these cartridge-based systems, as opposed to, again, what you would need for a plate-based system. So again, in terms of the very high throughput, very simple UTIs, of course, there are labs that are running molecular panels that they have self-developed and self-validated. But in terms of FDA-cleared diagnostic products, there is nothing out there today.
So then how do you price? How is this priced versus the competing products out there?
Well, while we've not announced sort of the pricing and list pricing of our eventual, expected FDA-cleared UTI, if you look at the product that we're selling in the U.S. today already, the Unyvero UTI is a research use only cartridge. What we're seeing is very comparable to what we're seeing in pneumonia. So let's call it, a price range of somewhere between $140 and $180. So, again, depending on testing volumes, depending on the commercial model, if this is a reagent rental, that'll depend, in terms of the surcharge. But again, UTI is a high prevalence disease, which means there's a lot of cases, and a lot of these labs have very significant numbers of urinary tract infection samples they're running every day. So, again, the higher the volume, the lower the surcharge for the instrument. Presumably going to start seeing some volume discounting, but we expect this to be in that broad, range, in that mid-$100 range.
So you'd said that there's no PCR FDA approved UTI test here. So on the regulatory front, are we on track for FDA submissions in the first quarter? And can we expect a launch in 2024 maybe?
Yeah, right now, as we sit here, we have unblinded the data. The team has obviously delivered the top line data, and they're going through literally tens of thousands, if not north of 100,000 data points. This is a very comprehensive data set that we have. Our goal is to submit to the FDA towards the end of the first quarter of 2023. And, assuming that this will, in all likelihood, be a de novo 510(k) process with an interactive review, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect a 2024 FDA clearance and commercial launch.
Okay, so what kind of revenue potential are we expecting for this UTI panel? Would it be in the same ballpark as the approved and marketed LRT panel in the US?
Well, the market for UTI is certainly bigger. If you look at the total available market, there's about 10 million urinary tract infections in the United States each year. Now, a lot of these are, I would say, uncomplicated or common UTIs, a lot of them in the elderly population, old people's home, nursing homes, care facilities, etc. But there is anywhere between, 1 million and 2 million of complicated, recurring, chronic, really complex UTIs each year. So if you look at, potentially 2 million UTIs a year, at, let's just take an average test price of $150, that's a $300 million total available market opportunity. So it's a very sizable market opportunity. It's completely unaddressed by any rapid molecular sample to answer platform today. So we certainly believe that this is going to be one of the key drivers of revenue growth for OpGen here going forward.
Great. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me, Oliver. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please refer to the Edison Group website for more details on OpGen.